Okay, the next topic I'm going to cover is filters. So filters are the controls in Shotcut that you can use to change things like color, change size, change shape, um, make things louder, quieter, size, position. So there are lots and lots of filters. So to start with, you can see that right now we're in the playlist view. And up here you need to make sure you click on editing because there are other options as well. So click on editing and click on filters. And this window comes up. And right now you can't see any filters. Click on the plus sign to add a filter. And I've got some favorites labeled, but there are video filters. There are lots of filters available for video control. Audio filters, some time mapping controls, and also sets of filters. You can actually combine a few different filters together and set them into a set. But we'll just start off with favorites to start with. The favorites that I like are these ones here: blur box, brightness, color grading, contrast, cropping, fading, gain or volume control, hue, lightness and saturation, levels, which is also has to do with brightness and shading, masking, muting, opacity, text, time, white balance. So they're the ones, and I've used all of those, some of those many times. They're the ones that I find the most useful. So we'll commence looking at some of those. I won't go through all of them, but I'll go through a few so you get the idea. Okay, we'll start off with something pretty simple. So I'll just go back to the playlist. We'll bring this clip down. Now, we'll go to filters and we'll just use the brightness filter to start with. So click on brightness, and here 100% is like standard brightness. So this clip has been selected. You have to make sure you select the clip that you're interested in if there are multiple clips. So click on the clip, get the filter in, and we can make it brighter or darker. Just very simply. When you're happy, just leave it there. Okay, I'll set that back to 100, or we can click on reset. To see the effect of it, actually I'll just change it back to see the effect of a filter that you may have versus without it. So you can untick it, that's without it, with it. And change the brightness down, that's with the filter on, no filter, with the filter. So using the tick mark can leaves the filter available, but it's not active. Now it's active. If we don't want a filter, tick the one you don't want and get rid of it. Gone. You can add another filter, let's say contrast. And contrast, we can reduce the contrast, and increase the contrast. That's increased. Reset it to standard. So standard with contrast is 50. So low contrast, high contrast. Really high contrast looks horrible. And again, you can see with contrast off, brightness off. So we can activate or kill or delete either of those filters by these controls there. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 clips in the timeline. So I can select a clip, add a filter. I'll go back to contrast in this case, change the contrast up. Okay, that clip has got a high contrast. If we just play it through, and this clip has no filter applied. So that one has a filter applied, this one doesn't. So one way of doing filters is do it clip by clip, and often that's required. But there's another way. So if we go back to this clip here, get rid of that filter. So just hit the minus sign. It's gone. We can click, select the whole video track, and add filters contrast. And now it's added it to the whole track, so we can go and look at any clip, and you'll see that there's contrast there. We can see with and without, so untick it, gone, that has it on, gone. So by putting the filter down there, you can apply that filter or series of filters, as many as you like, to the entire track. Sometimes you might find that that's okay for some clips, but this clip here, you might think, nah, it's no good. So on that clip, we can go to contrast and dial it back a bit, or even low. So now we see that clip has got contrast from the filter over here. And this clip is actually subject to two filters, the one that's there and the one that's kind of cancelling it out just for that clip. So it's fairly flexible. So to remove a filter that's been applied to the entire track, so you select the entire track, that little square turns blue, and select the filter you want to get rid of, and it's gone. So it's gone now for that entire track. Okay, so here's another use case of a filter. This time it's going to be the size and position filter. Size, position, rotate it's called. So if I go add a filter, you can search for size, type in search, and you see size, position, rotate. You could favorite it like I've done, size, position, rotate. You could also find it under video filters, just searching down size, position. Anyway, I'll use this method. So here's the filter. Now, in this particular project, I've set the mode to 1080p. So it's, what's that, 1920 wide, 1080 high. If we change it half the width and half the height, it's going to be 960. Half the height is going to be 540. If we position this little quadrant up in the top, the coordinates of the top left corner should be 0, 0. So I'm not quite right, so I'll just adjust it to be 0, 0. So the top left corner is at 0, 0. The top left corner of the next segment would be 960, so 960 across and still 0. Now, copy this clip, Control C, Control V. So now I've got two clips exactly the same. And I've got two video tracks here, as you can see. And I'll drag this second clip up onto track 2. So with video 2, let's move it. So I'll move it across. So I've selected the video 2. We'll move it across to there. And the coordinates of that top left corner should be 960 and 0. So we've already got the 960, not quite. 960 and 0. So that's a way of using size, position, rotate, and that can be played, and you'll see the two videos. Well, it might be choppy because I haven't made proxy files. Anyway, so if we play that, we've got two videos of the same scene, and that gives you the opportunity, if you wanted to like put a second filter on. We can just put the brightness on for something easy. You can compare original versus a different one. Another way of doing the size position is click on the one you want, the second one or the first one, doesn't matter, and we can just resize it like that. You can go right back to 1920 by, I can just type it in, 1920 by 1080, So now we've got the first bit, this video here in original size and this one in like quarter size. We can play them simultaneously. This filter also gives you the option to rotate. So if we got this clip here selected, which is the video track 2, and we can rotate it a bit. We'll set it back to 0 rotation. So this next example is like freeze framing a video to take like a snapshot of it, to capture a portion of it, to freeze frame it like I'll show you here. So here's a video riding along the road, and we just went past. I'll just backtrack slightly, a few frames. Right, so there's a sign saying great dividing range. Now, in normal play mode, that zooms past that quickly, you can't read it. Right, you can't see it. So we go back to where that sign was. What it can do is take a screenshot of that, going File, Export. Now, before you do that, make sure that proxy is turned off and that preview scaling is none, because you want a high quality photo to be taken. So I go Export Frame, give it a name, sign or whatever, JPEG, or we can go maybe a higher quality PNG, sign.png, save. Now, can bring that sign that we saved. I'll just go back to the file. So drag the sign, the photo, the JPEG or the PNG picture of the sign in, and that sign can be put in the playlist right here where it appears, and because it's on the top track, it'll take precedence over what's on the bottom, so we can play it. I'll put proxy back on now just to make it run smoothly when I'm playing. So the video is still running, but the sign's being captured. But you might just want to capture the sign and not everything that's under it. So what needs to be done next is on this sign picture file, we need to crop it down just to capture that bit there and leave the rest to show the video. So I'll do that. What I would do is position the playhead on the clip that we're dealing with, and add a filter called crop. So it's one of my favorites, crop. This is just a regular crop. You should be used to this from other applications. Crop, bring it in so it's just got the sign. Now, as it is, we can't see the video, it's hidden, but click on transparent. Now we've got the cropped bit that shows the sign, and the rest of it shows the video below. So we go back here, play it through. Now you can leave that sitting there as long as you like. You can leave it there a long time or a short time just by adjusting the length of that of the picture that's on this track. So we'll just adjust it to there. So it's a very easy way to just leave something on the screen a little longer, give the viewer time to read what it actually says, if you think it's valuable. You can always fade it out by putting the cursor near the top right hand corner till you see a black dot. Bring the black dot across. What that does is adds a fade out video and a fade out audio. Now there's no audio associated with this, we can just get rid of that. Leave the fade out video there and you can watch what happens. So you can see it fading it out as it gets across this zone here. Fading, fading. There might be a case where you want to move the location of the thing that you've cropped. So in the case of the sign, you probably wouldn't want to move that, but just to say it was some other thing that you'd cropped and you want to move where it appears, you can add size, position, rotate. And in this case, we're changing the position, not the size or anything. Move it over there somewhere. Let's say we move it up there. And then play it through. So it's been cropped to just show that small area, and then where that area appears on the whole screen can be adjusted by using size, position, and rotate. Another common requirement is to just reduce or change. Sometimes you want to increase the volume of a track. So click on the track, add a filter, and gain/volume. Add that one. So the standard default value was 0 decibels, so no change in whatever the input sound is. You can increase it or decrease it. Often with things like motorcycle noise, it's just annoying in the background, and I would often go -20 decibels. So I've cut this clip in half. On the left-hand side, we've got -20 decibels. On the right, no change, 0. So I'll play it through and you'll see the difference with -20 decibel reduction on motorcycle noise. So I think you'll find there are many times when you want to cut that sort of noise back. Another common need is to be able to fade in and fade out audio and video. There are controls for doing that: fade in audio, fade in video, fade out, fade out. But look, the simplest way is to select the track you want to fade, go to the top right corner for the end of the clip, or the top left corner for the start of the clip, and you'll see a black dot. Grab and drag the black dot, and that defines the length of the fade. So there's one clip. Here's a second. I'll just chop a bit out of this one. Hit X, gone, and we'll fade this one in. So it's going to fade in the video and the audio. So if you click on that track, you'll see it's got fade in video, fade in audio. If you want to, you can delete one or the other. You don't have to have both, but I'll just leave both here for the moment. Fading out and fading in. Sometimes if you have tracks stacked on top of each other, you want to adjust opacity instead of fading with black. When it's a single track, I usually just fade with black, like it's doing now. So it goes completely black at the start, and as it goes through, the black is reduced so you can see the full video. When you've got tracks stacked on top of each other, you might want to adjust the opacity of one track so it gradually disappears so you see the track beneath it. So you've got that option over here. But it's only really relevant, as far as I can understand, is when you have tracks stacked on top of each other. Next thing I'll show you is how to use masking just to blur something. So with masking, I usually use mask, simple shape, and that defines the area that you want blurred. And then I use blur box, and then mask apply. So with masking, the filters that are placed between the mask simple shape and the mask apply where the effect is generally implemented. There are lots of other options too, but this is the simple case. So if I go simple shape, and in this case I just want to blur the number plate, because if I play this video clip through, get up to this frame here and the number plate's easily visible, but from back here where I put this marker, it's not really visible from there. So get the mask. Now it's going to blur the whole wheel and everything, so I don't want that. Just want to make it small. And I'll bring it through to the frame where I really want to mask it, which is there. So if I place that there, I hope you can see that it looks blurry. If I place it there, it looks blurry. In the next section of tips, I'm going to show you how to use keyframes, because if I move the video to another frame, it's going to be blurry here, but not blurry there. I want it to be blurry on the number plate all the way through. So I would need to do something with keyframes to make the number plate blurry on every frame as you move through. So this concept here of mask, simple shape, blur box, there are other types of blurs you can use, but look, blur box seems to work fine for what I do. And then mask apply. You always have to have mask apply at the end, and between the simple shape mask and the mask apply is where you place the filters that you want impacted. The next filter I'd like to show is just text. There are all sorts of options with text, but just to place text on a frame, on a clip, I go down to text simple. Now, the default is it brings up a time code, which is not what I want. So you can type in here my text or whatever you want to type. And the default is if you grab this frame and shrink it, the text size changes with that. So the text will shrink down. You can tick that box there to specify your font size. I've not found I've needed to do that. I'll just leave it with automatic, and it'll shrink down. You can select the text, change the color of the text to yellow or something like that. What you can also do is, if you've got the text at a certain shape, certain size, certain color, and you're happy with that, you can save that as a preset. So save, you give it a name, yellow text small, or name it whatever you like, and save it. Now I've saved a couple of pretexts which I use a lot. So one is Comic Sans Red. So I'll start again, I'll get rid of that filter. And I'll add a filter. That's going to be text. And the preset I'm going to use is Comic Sans Red. And it'll put in the text that I had at the time when I created this preset. Obviously I want to change that. This is now going to be my text or whatever. You can move that around to where you want it, resize it to whatever size you want, and that's all you do. So you place it on the clip, it'll be present for the entire clip if you do it this way. One thing you can do if you don't want that text present for the entire clip, you can click on this keyframes, and so I only want the text to be visible from here. So if I put the playhead, playhead there, you'll see that the text appeared when we got to that green line. So that's your first introduction to keyframes. Another filter that I use extensively is color grading. Now, there are lots of options with color grading. I'm only going to show you the one that I use the most. So it's called color grading. Get that filter in. And let's create a bit more space here. So this filter lets you change the shading or the brightness level, if you like, of the shadows areas, the midtones areas, or the highlights or the lighter areas. So for example, and it's very, very sensitive. You can actually scroll the mouse wheel on this. And I would typically, on the shadows, just drop it down a little bit. So you can see with the filter on, with the filter off. So you can use this checkbox up here to see the impact. Drop it down a bit more, on, off. You can do the same, so I'll reset the shadows. We'll do it for the midtones, drop it down a bit with the filter on or off. Reset that. With the highlights, you might want to make it brighter even. Make the brighter parts brighter with the filter on or off. So we can try dropping the shadows, dropping the midtones, increasing the highlights. I'll go to the extreme of it. That's, of course, you can see that's no good. So you can play around to your heart's content. If you want to make the whole video look a little more yellowy or reddy, you can move it out in this direction. I'll go to the extreme, very yellow. Bring it back, go to the blue side, blue. I tend to not mess with that too much. I mainly adjust this one here. Now, when doing those corrections, color corrections, I have a look at this here. And here it shows the video waveform. I'll reset all of these. Now, the way I understand it, and I've filmed this on the GoPro, and I've filmed it with flat color. So if I had filmed it with GoPro color, it would have been more vivid. But flat color gives you more detail in the shadows and in the light areas. And we can see here this waveform, and there's room to make things darker without saturating the darkness. So let's have a look at that. So we can bring the darkness down on the shadows, and we can see that these troughs, if you like, these low points are starting to touch the bottom line, which means things are starting to go completely black. You know, if we go down a long way, the dark areas are getting quite black, and it's really hitting the bottom grossly there. So I'd take it back up a bit, up a bit. About there is as low as you'd want to go. Similarly with the bright areas, so perhaps the midtones or the light areas, there are a few tiny peaks in this particular frame that are maxed out on brightness, but not many. So we could go up a little bit. Now you can see more peaks, more areas, more pixels, if you like, are hitting the max. You don't want to go too high because the clouds get washed out, for example. You don't see any detail in cloud if you have that too high. So that's way too high. So I'll reset that one. And similar with the midtones, you can go up a little bit, but you don't want too many pixels hitting the top. So color grading, you can change lots of things. It's really up to you how you want the thing to appear. You can mess with color, you can mess with shades. To your heart's content. Good luck with this one.